Dave here. How are you? Thank you for that, Peter, letting me know that the AV is good. And I did a quick check myself. It was coming through quicker for some reason. Okay, today is the 23rd of May 2021. And it's a cool morning outside here. It is 15 degrees Celsius. On the show today, and I've already done the post, so if you're on Facebook, you'll be getting another post straight away saying we're on. I'll turn that off and put it out of the way. I'm too organized today. All right, I've moved myself down from where I normally do the show over there at the assembly table down beside the clamps. I'm on the router table and the table saw is directly in front of me. We're going to be putting a blast gate up there, one of these. This is an automatic blast gate. And we're also going to be having a look at this little fellow. This is a Veritas #1 bench plane. So I'm going to take you through all of that. Now, also, this week on the show, all that stuff, Andrew Davitt has become a patron. Thank you very much for that, Andrew. If you want to follow suit, there's a link in the description box down below this video. It does help me to get out of bed and do this stuff for you guys. We're going to fit the auto blast gate, have a look at the Veritas #1, viewers projects. We've got some stuff from Don Bullock. There's a battery charge station from Jack Rosenberger. Johannes Mohr's grandfather's bench as a television support. Auto blast gates from Steve Bruford from Forest Lakes Men's Shed. And then after the show, we'll have our Patreons meeting, which you can jump into if you're a patron. If you haven't been to one of the Patreon meetings before, what you do is you go onto the Patreon page, links in the description, and you slide down until maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 posts down. You'll see there's something about a Zoom meeting. Just click on that. Maybe a minute or two after the show, we'll go live with that. And we have a chat for, half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. All right. Now, let's get into this. I'm going to explain how this blast gate is going to work. Now, I've already got 1, 2 in the shop, and this is going to be my third one. Now, they are a very solid device. These things have a 12-volt DC linear actuator. So there's a little motor in here, makes this ram go in and out. As it does, this part, the open part of the blast gate, which is sandwiched in the middle of this extremely good quality ply with laminate facing on it. This is a particular board that the guys that make these do it. It's all done on a CNC machine. When you turn your machine on, like I'm going to turn my table saw in this situation, or even my router table, because I'm being a little bit tricky, this one gate is going to work for 2 different machines. When I turn that on, there is a power point just down here that will send a message, will activate that 12 volt. It will close the circuit, the 12 volt DC circuit, which will complete the circuit, and this will pull back to here. And that will pull this back through, and this part here, instead of being closed, will open. Now on this particular one, the fellows at autoblastgate.com.au have also included a little switch that's spring-loaded here. So as this comes back, this switch will go click, and it will close the circuit as well in here for another 12-volt cable that will run over to my dust extractor and turn the dust extractor on. It is very, very basic, and it works a treat. It's not wireless, it works. So there's no mucking around with having to worry about going through my internet connection or a wireless setup. These gates, the design, self-cleaning. There is nothing in the back here to clog. All right? So as it closes or opens, everything works perfectly. Now, what I'm going to do is up above me here, I think I've got the camera aimed up there, is I'm going to remove the 2.5-inch pipe and the reducer from that setup where it goes onto the 4-inch Y on the 6-inch main. And I'm going to put a 45-degree bend, pardon me, that's going to bring it out in line with that solid blocking on the rafters and the ceiling of my workshop. Now, you don't have to do this. Come back to here. You don't have to mount this on its own to the ceiling or anywhere. It will mount itself onto the pipe setup that you already have if you've got a 4-inch PVC dust extraction system, or a 6-inch. They make 6 or 4. So these things, I can't talk highly enough about them. I'll give you a little bit of disclosure. These guys got in touch with me and said, Dave, we'd like to put one in your workshop and see what you think. So they did. And I went back and I bought 3 more. I was that impressed with them. There's no affiliation apart from the fact that they did one for me. That's it. So I'm telling you this because, and I'm buying these things. There's no special deals for me. I'm just buying this. And how often do you turn a table saw on and you think, that's only a quick cut, and you don't do anything? You leave it off. You don't turn the dust extractor on. You've seen me do it on the show a few times. All right, so what we're going to do is I'll go up there first. We'll do all the change up the top. Now hold on, what we might do is I might drill a hole through here first. So I drill a hole through here, and I'm going to put it up there with a 75mm bugle screw. So it's going to go through there and then into that rafter up there. Okay? So it's a very simple situation to do that when I find my drill bits over here. I'll move a couple of things out of the way. Is anyone interested in watching this kind of stuff? Give me some comments down the side here, whether you are or not. So I just find it, when I first looked at these things and when the first one went in here, I knew what it would do, but I was trying to put it all together because there was so much information being given to me in one go. So I thought, doing this on the show, I can slow it all down and just go through it bit by bit, and you can watch me do it. So I'm going to choose that. That's a, what is it? I think it's a 7mm drill, which is going to give this clearance. I do not want to bind this up at all. Okay. Thank you for that, Peter. Back to there. All right, move the coffee out of the way. I don't want to have a whole lot of plywood in my coffee. I might grab just one little bit of wood, scrap. Here we go. As a backing for this, so I don't go all the way, so I don't go drilling into my bench to start, and so I don't tear the back out. Done. See the exit hole there? It's nice and clean from using that. Now I'm going to put a countersink. I'm just using a through-hole countersink in here. That is hard stuff. All right. Blow that out. Just check that that's going to go in there nicely. Okay, so you can see the screw head there, and you can see it sticking out the back. I'm happy with how that's going. Man glitter, not dust. Always good to learn. Always interested, yes please, I do like it. Helps me to plan for my dust extraction system. Interested in dust extraction, often forget to turn the various gates on, so automatic makes it better. It sure does. I've started a machine up and I thought to myself, wow, I'd forgotten to turn the thing on, and there it is, it's running for me straight away. It reminded me when the actual dust extractor turned on. I love it. All right, so now up there I've got the Y section on the 6-inch down to a 4-inch Y, and it's female coming off the 4-inch section. So I'm going to put the male side of this 45-degree bend into there, and then this on the blast gate, as I say, I'm slowing this right down. On the blast gate, these are female, okay? So female to female doesn't work, male to female does work. So I've cut a small adapter off some pipe, so that's going to be male. It'll go into there. Now I'm going to put it on the other side, of course, because I don't want to put all the workings against where I've got that solid block where I'm mounting it to. Okay, so that's where it's going to go. And then this will be going on there. How cool is this? So there's my 45. Now I'm going to switch cameras, go up there, and let's see if we can get this all sorted. Yeah, okay, so people are watching, and I don't know how many people are watching. Give me a thumbs up while we're going along as well if you're interested in what I'm doing. Doesn't matter if you're going to do this or not. If you're finding it's a point of interest, give me a thumbs up. Let's go to the other camera. Rightio. I'll lay that out of there and that down there for the moment. I'm going to climb up. This isn't going to be great as far as you guys seeing me, but that doesn't matter. Okay, a couple of things. I'm standing up on top of the table saw area now. Hello. All right, so I'm going to undo the support. I'm going to undo that join there, and I'm going to undo this join here. I'm not going to use that duct tape. I'm going to use Gorilla Tape because I went to a trade show the other week, and there were some people there that are the new distributors for Gorilla Glues and Gorilla Tapes. And they said, Dave, do you want to take some of this stuff with you? And I said, sounds like a plan to me. So we'll undo the Euro screw. So these things are you drill a 5mm hole for these, and they're flat and they're only short. They're about 10mm long. Put it in my pocket, and we will, I'll leave that one on. I'll just take this part off because I'm going to keep this section. I may cut this down to shorter, but I'll undo this. Yeah, it's an interesting subject. Out she comes. There we go. Put this down there. And what did I say I was going to do next? I was going to put a 45 here, like so. That's looking pretty good. This cable I'll just push around out of the way. I want to make sure that's on the same plane. Let's turn this ever so slightly. That's going to work all right. So I want that on the same plane as this. We may or may not be going to bolt onto there. We'll see what happens. As I said, it doesn't need to. If I put a screw in there and maybe a second one, that should be enough to hold it. I'll move that out of the way for the moment, just straighten that out. And that one there from previous fun times doing all of this stuff. Okay, let's get this blast gate up here and have a look. Now that is the connection piece, and then this is going to go on there like so. Yeah, that's way too far away. All right, so I'm not going to lock it on to the rafter at the moment. Further down the track, if I want to, I might put a block of wood in here and screw it on, but I don't think I'm going to need to. These things sure are sexy. All right, so what I need to do is put some Euro screws in. I'm going to hop down. We'll go to the other camera in a second. Maybe not. Just got some Euro screws in my pocket. A 5mm drill bit out of there. 3, 4, 5. No, Terence, you don't have to sell a kidney. Go and have a look. Just type in www.autoblastgates.com.au. There's probably links below in the description box, in the video description box. Have a look down there, and you'll see they're not over the moon. Here we go. As far as price is concerned. One. Let's put a Euro screw in there. Possibly should have brought an electric screwdriver up here rather than trying to do this by hand. But nonetheless, here we go. You know what? That's got a bloody good grip. I'm going to put another one in here. Oh, I just realised everything's going in the coffee. It was directly below where I was drilling that hole. Let's put one in here. Notice I did not have my finger in behind where I was drilling. That could have been a little bit embarrassing if I had. Not even, just gone a quarter past, so we're 15 minutes into the show. This is doing okay. Okay, that's looking pretty good. You know what, I'm going to put another screw on the other side as insurance. Why not? To stop it rolling. I'm glad I did that. And also another one here. Cool. Found the channel. Good. Screw in that. This mechanical part of putting it all together is only one part. I'm also going to show you the little tricks I've come up with the electrical part of it as well. Now it's all 12-volt DC that runs it. Oh, that looks so good. That's brilliant. That's pretty strong. It's all 12-volt DC. All this stuff here. So this is 0.75mm twin speaker cable. That's all I'm using to send the signals between the power point that this plugs into and the other end. Now, what are we up to now? I've got that into there, that into there. Next thing is this one onto there. Beautiful. Now, I have to make sure that I have room for travel. So that's on, I could put it like that if I wanted to. I'm going to put it like that. I've got plenty of room here that's fully open, and I'm just going to twist this around a little bit more this way. Can you see that? Just looking down there. Yep. So I've got room on this side. It's not going to hit anything. I have room on this side because remember, when this moves, it's going to come out this side here. A little, I think. Okay, drill a hole. Right. Hold on to that. Make sure the hole's still lined up. There it is now. The first one's always hardest. Put it on the screwdriver. This is where I say, stay there, stay there. Beautiful. I'm putting the screw in. Got it. Okay, that's the screw on one side. Now, see how that's moving around? Putting a screw on the other side is going to stop that. It's going to close that hole up. This is why I put the two in. Beautiful. Let's see if we can get it around and be a little bit more on what I'm doing there. There we go. That's solid. I love it. I love it. While I'm here, let's put a bit of tape on it. Try this Gorilla Tape out. All right. This is the stuff that the rep gave me, so I'm going to give it a try, see what it's like. Oh, it says it sticks to everything. Oh, it's sticking to my hand. Get some scissors. I should have thrown a nail bag on to carry all this stuff around while I'm working on it. I'm making sure the tape isn't going to stick to anything whilst I'm doing all of this. Gotcha. Now, this is basically just to complete the seal. Come on. That's better. This is a whole lot easier to use than the PVC tape. All right. That looks okay. Now on this side, I need to put this in. Now this fitting here is female, is male, so it should go straight in, and it does. Beautiful. I'm not going to do much to it. I'm going to cut this down a little bit later and then move this up to it, but that's going to be in a little bit. I'm going to leave that off. Oh no, I'll put a screw in here. Why not? Let's get it sorted. I don't want to do anything half measured. Put the screw in. And I'll tape these things up after the show. All right, that's not going anywhere. Cool. Now up here you'll see I've got some cable. This one I'm going to connect to the blast gate, and you'll see I've already put a connector on one side. Now the reason I've put that there and not done the other one, I want to show you a little trick that I worked out as I was going along. Oh, I really should have brought the nail bag, but anyway. My back pocket is filling up quickly. These are what I'm using. These little guys, so it's the male and the female. They carry 300 volts. And they're designed for 0.5 millimeter up to 1.5 millimeter cable. This is 0.75 millimeter cable, so it's perfect. Now on this one, I have the female, so I'm going to put the male on this one so that I don't get the wrong signal being sent. It's one of those things that you'll discover as you're going along. Because this is DC, if I have these around the wrong way, what's going to happen is when I turn the dust extractor on, if it's on the wrong way, it'll close the gate and nothing will happen. It'll open the gate and turn the dust extractor on when I turn the machine off. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to put this on there. I've got that little crimping tool. Fold that over there like that. Slide this on. Decided not to fold it over. So there we are. I have this crimping tool, and these are red, so it means I use the red, which is the 1.5. Squish and squish. And now I'm going to put some electrical tape on. I have probably all of these electricians and auto electricians out there cringing while I'm doing this kind of stuff. And I think if I put a little bit of tape on there, okay, male, female. And how do I know I've got them on the right way? Well, because I prepared this time during the week and it went the wrong way. So I thought, well, there's a mistake for beginners. So we'll sort all that out. There we go. All right. So now I can hook up, come in a bit closer. I can hook up male to female. There. Just a little bit at the moment. And the other one. And I'm going to put some tape around this one so it doesn't touch the other one. For the moment. Cool. Excellent. Now, the other thing I've got to do is hook, I'm going to come around this side of the camera. You'll notice that I'm not really watching what's happening on the chat because I'm kind of occupied with what I'm doing here. If I can bring that over there a little bit further, that might be better. So what I'm going to do now is work on this thing. What I've done at the moment is I've connected, this turns the DC motor on to either open or close the blast gate. That's all this is doing. This is coming from a power point down beside where my table saw and router table are. I'm going to show you those in a second. So that's its own 12-volt system. Forget about anything else. This doesn't need to be there. All this is going to do is open the blast gate or close the blast gate when I turn my machine on, either the table saw or the router table. That's all this is doing. Don't get these two confused. This guy is going to send a message to my dust extractor to turn on by this switch. When the blast gate opens, which means this part is going to go over there and open up the hole to the rest of my system, this is a spring-loaded switch and it will go like that. Click when this ram goes back that direction. It's going to go click, and then when the ram comes back out, it's going to push this and turn the dust extractor off. Okay. 1:30, we're doing okay. So we need to get rid of that out of there. And I also have to make sure that I've got it set around the right way. Otherwise, it's not going to work as well. So I've already got this set up here. There it is. I'm going to undo this. Now there's a short screw at one end. That's only a little shorty. in the gob. And these two are longer screws. And don't be like David and try and put the long screw in the end here, because that's not going to work. Okay, there we go. Now here we've got the contacts. I'm going to open the contacts up, and I'm going to test what happens. I can't test at the moment because this is closed. I'm going to just touch both with the wires. Remember, it's only 12 volt. I'm not going to hurt myself. And see what happens. Just make sure. If you hear the dust extractor turn on, it means I've got to put them the other way. Nothing. Whoop. It's going to turn off in 10 seconds. I touched these two together. So we just wait. There we go. I'm going to try this side now. Nothing. And this side. Nothing. It makes no difference. Okay. I'm happy. And so I'm learning all the time. Now I need to slide these. I touched them together again. What I might do is turn the dust extractor off totally, so that doesn't keep on happening. There we go. It's got no power to it now over there at the machine. All right. I need to slide the cable through the end before I try and connect it in there. Notice I wrote on this extractor because I didn't want to confuse this cable with the cable to the RAM or the linear actuator, whatever you want to call it. Pull that off. Gone. Now I can push these two cables together. Nothing's going to happen now. All right. Straighten these wires out after they've gone through that spot and make sure that screw doesn't drop down into my table saw. Slide this one into there and tighten him up. And the other one also on that side and tighten him up. Beautiful. I'm going to pick that screw up while I can see it. And of course the other one went out in sympathy. Look, three of them went out now. There is a little gasket there behind, so we've got to be careful we don't destroy that. I'm just going to bring this over until it lines up. There. Put these two screws in, get them started. Now you're going to be either bored stupid watching me do this or on the edge of your seat. It all depends on whether you want to do this yourself. These things are made so well, and there's little things that they've done when they made these things that I'm not going to tell you about because it's part of the secret of how they're made, and I know it, and it is so clever, but they're not telling anyone how they did that part. So there we go. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to actually put a screw up there. We had a screw fall out from the support earlier just to get it out of the way so it doesn't get in the way of that gate. There, and pull that back a little bit. I'm glad I ran all these cables before the show. I'm going to tidy all that up a little bit later on. So up here we're done. This is all finished. So I'll hop down from here and I'll take you through the last parts. And then we've got to have a look at the little Veritas number 1 hand plane. I'm going to come back over here to the main camera. There we go. Have a quick read. Okay, there we go. Okay, and it still has to be added to the description. Well, that's fine. The Gorilla Tape's good stuff. I like the idea of having male-female connectors on each cable. It stops me switching it around, and I just touch them off first as I'm going through and see if I'm getting the right response from everything. And I have, which is great. G'day, Cole, how are you? There are better connectors. What kind of connectors? I don't have solar panels to look at. Yep. These things are cheap connectors. Like these are ones I use for trailer tail lights, things like that. You know, 12-volt stuff. These are great. Okay, Scotch connectors I'm not a fan of. They always fail. All right, I'm going to move the camera down here. I'm going to show you the other parts of the workings and why I've done some things. All right, and we'll put some more cable on down there. All right, where are we? Come down with this one, camera 3. All right. Now, what we have here, what have we got here? I have a 10 amp double GPO, 240 volt. You'll notice it's got 2 written on it. That's because I have labeled all of my power points in this workshop as to which circuit on. There are 2 power circuits running through here. Anything on the first circuit is labeled 1. Anything on the second circuit is labeled 2. This is so I don't overload a circuit if I've got a few things happening. Pardon me. So this is on number 2. My dust extractor is on circuit number 1. All of the cabling in behind here and in behind the walls is 2.5mm twin and earth. So basically that means it's the cross section of the cable. If I was to cut the cable, the square millimeters is 2.5mm, and that's normal for a 10 amp system. My light circuits are 1mm twin and earth, which means cut it across 1 square millimeter. The 12 volt system that I've got running to send the messages is 0.75 of a millimeter twin. So it doesn't have an earth. So there's only 2 cables, not 3. So when I say twin and earth, that means active, neutral, and earth. In the States, you'll probably say hot, neutral, earth. In Australia, the code is brown for active, blue for neutral, green and yellow for earth. In the States, I think white is your active or hot wire. I think. I'm not an electrician, but because I was a builder, I had to be aware of what the electricians were doing when they were building homes for me. Well, when they were wiring the homes. So down here, I have my amphibian. So that's this thing here. Now on this circuit here, I've got a 4,800 watt circuit breaker. Okay, so to trip this circuit, well, it happens automatically, I've got to load it up with more than 4,800. There's some tolerance there, but that's what it'll do. That will protect the 2.5mm cables in the walls, so there's no fire. All right. Now, I have a second setup here. Because my table saw is 3 horsepower, it is slightly over a 10 amp situation. It's a 15 amp machine. Now I can run that through this amphibian, which has got a 15 amp plug. The plug that goes to this magic box, which sends all the signals and turns machines on, is a 15 amp. You'll notice it's a 15 amp double GPO. Now, it plugs into there. If anything happens, if there's too much load on my table saw running it through a 10 amp circuit, this will trip. 15 amps isn't anywhere near 4,800 watts. Okay, so I'm well within everything if it was only the table saw running on this circuit. But this guy here will trip it at 2,400 if it goes past. Okay, so that's the safety that I have in place. I have my router table and my table saw plugged into this GPO. Now you'll notice here there's a 15 amp cable running from here into this GPO, which is basically the power supply and the sending unit for the 12 volt. There's a 12 volt transformer inside this. And this cable here coming out of the bottom is the cable that's running up to, through the bell wire, through that speaker wire I should say, or you know, they call it figure 8 as well, up to the blast gate's linear actuator. That's all this is doing. This power point is going to send a signal up to the actuator to open the blast gate when I turn on my table saw or my router table. I will never have my router table and table saw running at the same time. Why would I? But to keep everything safe, I've got this guy in line in between. In case I do, it will trip straight away. So I'm keeping safe. It'll trip if I put too much load on it. Like that'd be a massive amount. So the cable from here, and this is where it's fun, runs across under here. I don't know if you can get under there to see it. If I do this, you can see I've got it running across here in a little cover, and then it goes down through there, and then down through the floor. Now you may have seen the other day that I had all of this floor pulled up, the sheet on top. You can see just there's where the cable is going through the floor. There's a trapdoor here, which I lifted, ran the cable under the floor, and then that kickboard is also removable, and I took that out, and the cable runs up behind there, up, and then up to the dust extractor. Now you'll notice up here it looks like there's electrical cables. They're 1 millimeter twin and earth with the speaker wire connected on. They are all 12 volt. There is nothing else up there. So it's all 12 volt, runs through down this cable here to the power point that activates the dust extractor. Clear as mud. Oh dear. Let me come over to this side and we'll have a look at the comments. And you're all probably telling me, I don't know what's happening with, in the States, black is active or hot, white is neutral, green is ground. Okay, thanks for that, Dave. That's for 120. For 240, 220 is black and red are hot. Black for neutral, red is hot. Yeah, we used to have that same as well. We used to have red was hot or active, black was neutral. And a lot of my old machines in here have the same wiring. Green is ground, bare copper, big and brown. Yes, correct. I'm checking your work, Dave. Thanks, thanks, Tony. Tony is one of the cohorts from autoblastgates.com.au. All right, so that cable. Look, I need to just clarify something that I was just talking about. The cable from that double GPO, 15 amp GPO, that will turn my machines on, goes through, up, and then along my dust extraction line, I led you astray, to the linear actuator. I'm going to switch to the other camera. I'm going to sort this out. I don't want anyone to be misled about what I'm talking about. All right, this cable here, underneath, this one, comes up through here, along under the table saw, down through the floor, and then behind the kickboard. Well, it's right so far. Then it comes up, and then this one goes all the way along, if I can see it, along my dust line up to the linear actuator. Okay, the 12-volt RAM that opens the blast gate. From there, the blue box is carrying the signal when it gets switched by the blast gate opening, carries the signal on the other wire along here and then over to the dust extractor. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear on that. All right, let's have a look, see if we've got everything connected. It is. Okay, okay, moment of truth. Oh dear. Patreon cam, here we go. I'm going to turn the dust extractor on, and let's see if it turns itself on or off. If it does, well, let's just do it. Let's see how we go. I don't want you to turn on. Beautiful. It didn't turn on. I've got something right. I did something right. Oh, cool. All right. My router table. And that's, I'll go around the other side here and I'll get this hose. I'm going to move this out of the way and put this into here. And I think we're going to be good. Let me see. I'm going to turn my table saw on in a second. We'll pop this up here because I think this is going to be more fun to watch from up the top. All right, you can see my table saw here. I'm going to move these things out of the way so we don't have screws and everything sliding down into the blade, even though I've got the blade guard on. Move all this stuff out of the way. And just here, I have under my bench, move this down here. I have my router table here. Now there is a cutter in there, but I always leave it all the way down low. Okay, let's start with the router table. Put the magic yellow thing in. See what happens. I'm a little bit nervous. Why am I nervous? Because, because I've been explaining a lot as I've been going along. Let's see what happens when I try this. Okay, waiting. I'm going to I'm not saying to do your own. There is no way that I'm saying to do your own 240 volt. It's an electrician's job. I explained that as a builder, I had to also have some nous about what was going on so I can keep an eye on what my electricians were doing. All right. Here we go. I'm going to have this near here. I'm going to turn on the router table. You hear the gate open and close. All right. Now, you might say, well, that's really weird, Dave. Why are you doing that? And the thing will turn off in 10 seconds. There it goes. I love it. All right. The reason I do it is because, let's bring my saw fence over, and this is my saddle that I use. You all know that I've got this thing. Back a little. This is where I plug this hose into. So now my fence for the router table is covered. And off. You can hear it close. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to have a look at it on the table saw. Let me see if I can bring this over here a little. Spin that. Now the table saw is right beside. I was just going to try and see if I can get it back far enough. I will leave it like that for the moment. Now everything's out of the way. The blade's down low. I'm going to lower it all the way down. Put this up out of the way. Up we go. Come on. There we go. That's down out of the way. Table saw on. And off. All right. Now the other part you guys want to watch is the gate actually working. So I'll come around here. See if you can see it there. All right, I'll start with the router table. And then off. Okay, that's off and waiting. The next thing, table saw. And off. All right. Now the last thing that I'm going to show you, let me see if I can remember what the last thing, all right, that's right. So down here, underneath here, I have basically a switch. Let me see if I've got all of that in the picture. I do. These are blast gates for the rest of the system. So that's the router table, open or shut. This is the table saw, open or shut. Now this is for the cabinet underneath, and it collects stuff under here, whether I'm got the dust extraction on or not. It just drops into the bottom of the cabinet. But if I'm doing a lot of table saw work, I'd have that one open. And so then if I turn the table saw on, I would have dust being pulled from here and also from the blade guard. Now the majority of it comes from the blade guard. The router table, if I'm doing a lot of routing, I would open that, close the table saw down, the big dust port down underneath, and then I'd have, let me come around to this side, because that was a confusing thing for me, like where did I put the mouse, as to how to make all of that work as well. So I'm getting a little bit caught up with some of the chat here, so we'll ignore that. All right, just under here, I'll move this back, is a cabinet that has a downdraft from the dust extractor as well. The fence is where most of the stuff gets pulled in. So if I have that hose from above hooked in, start the router table up, the dust extractor turns on automatically and starts pulling from down below as well. This is really, really handy. All the other gates are shut. I don't know if there's anything else I can tell you about it, but let's do the rest of the show. How are we doing for time? 5-2. Let's have a look at some viewers projects. We've done that. Viewers projects. Don Bullock. Now Don has made a trophy for his friend from the Basset Hound judging in the States. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things. This is a box that Don has made for the trophy. He didn't make the trophy, he just made the box. Lay it again, Nick. All right, so in the description box below the video, there is the video that Don did about making this box. And that's some really nice zebra wood, and I think that's walnut as well. And then you see it's lined inside. Yeah, so that's without the trophy in it, and this is with the trophy in it. And then we'll see when the trophy's in and the lid's inside the box for transport, and the lid's there with the mount, and then this is what it's like on display at the show, which is fantastic. And there's a real story to it, so I need you to have a look at that, and you can go through all that stuff. Now, the next thing we also have, Jack Rosenberger. Now, remember last week I did a thing on the charging station. This is Jack's charging station that he's got, and he says, find a photo of the charging station I recently made. To avoid chance of fire, both chargers are connected to a 1 hour max timer. Yes, I'm one of those that stick to the same brand cordless tools. I enjoy the show. That's pretty cool. Now, Johannes Mohr, he watches the show from the Faroe Islands, which is in between Iceland or Greenland and Scotland and Denmark. Unbelievable. Anyway, he's been watching the show on the telly, and you'll notice if you look hard underneath the picture of me using the parallel guides on last week's show is his great-grandfather's workbench. He says, "Good evening, Dave. Happy birthday to your granddaughter. Relaxing in my basement, looking at the show from this morning. Note my TV is sitting on my great-grandfather workbench." Oh, it's his great-grandfather's as well. That's pretty cool. Now we've got Steve Bruford from Forest Lakes Men's Shed, and he's also installed these blast gates. He's put 4 in. He says, "Hi Dave, probably too late for this week's show, but this is our setup in the Forest Lakes Men's Shed. First picture is the blast gate on the miter saw." I don't know if that's the first picture that I've put in, but anyway, let me have a look down here. I think that's possibly the one going down to the miter saw. Second is to the table saw. Let me see if I can find that one. Yep, that's pretty cool. So he's coming off a Y as well, and the hose is coming down and around and underneath. And the last two are thickness planer. Let me have a look, see if we've got the thickness planer. There it is. And the next one, and you can see all the switching in behind. Now he says also a small video of our setup. We have all the cutting in the front of the shed, which is 4 meters by 8 meters. Let's go to the movie while we do this. The assembly area is 12 meters by 8 meters. The balance of the 12 by 12 shed is the entrance and coffee making area. This is so good. I love men's sheds when they're set up like this and they're all inclusive. What a great setup. There we go. Now, if you've got stuff like that that you want to send in, do it. And we can share information backwards and forwards. That's what this show is all about, sharing information, helping other people out, help yourself out. Why not? Now, let's have a look at this Veritas #1. Isn't this a little cutie? We've got about a minute to go. Look at the size of this thing. Now, you'll notice that I have not put the blade in it. It's still got that little black piece of cardboard in there. Now it's got an adjustable mouth at the front. It's a low angle. I think it's about 40 degrees by the time the bevel is on the blade as well. It's got a Norris style adjuster on it. And basically it's got a handle here for, it says for small people, for people with small hands. It's just disappearing in my hand there. It's malleable cast, has lovely timber for holding the knob and the tote, and it's just lovely. Now, I don't know if I'm going to use this. I may just put it back in its box, put a little bit of camellia oil on it, and put it back in its box. Now, one of the things also, it comes with a PMV11 blade. These things are, PM stands for powdered metal. So they grind all this metal up and they make an alloy, and then they powder it again, and then they reforge it. PM, powdered metal, V for Veritas, and 11 means it's 11 out of 10. They got that from the movie Spinal Tap. How loud does your amplifier go? It goes, it's got a 10 on the thing. He said, that goes to 11. So that is still in its box. I'm not getting it out of there. It's going to go back into its paper. There's the label on the front, and it's got all the, everything is in there still. So as I say, I don't know if I'm going to use that or put it away as a keeper. Stanley number ones, if you can pick up a Stanley number one for under $3,000, you are doing very well. I don't know how many Veritas are going to make of this plane, but it's a lovely little plane, and it's made in the same quality as all the rest of their stuff. They did not give it to me. I bought the thing. I saw it and I immediately thought about the Stanleys, and I thought, you know what? I bet when Stanley number one came out, people sat around going, yeah, no, who wants that little thing? But not many people took up on it. They didn't make many, and next thing you know, it's a massive value collector's item. I know that there's a few people were waiting for me to show around a little bit before they decide to make the jump and buy it. I bet you Ian Carey buys one because he hasn't got enough hand plans. Let me see if I've got everything done on the show. Battery charge station here from Jack Rosenberger, Johannes Mohr. Auto blast gates from Forest Lakes Men's Shed. The Patreon meeting is the next thing. Oh no, next week on the show, I'm going to do another thing on that French cleat. Remember, I had around about, I don't know, 900 millimeters to a meter left of that French cleat on the wall. And then during the week, I was tidying things up, and I've got tripods everywhere, you know, because this is something that I do during the week. Not that I've done a lot lately, but I'm going to try and get back into it. So I'm going to try and make a tripod stand so that when they're all closed up, dank, 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 I think I've got 4 or 5 of them there, and I'll make these brackets. Now, if I end up not using it for tripods, I might use it for overflow for here. I might put clamps on it because I have some smaller clamps that could go on it quite well. So if you've got nothing else to do next weekend, same time, same place. And patrons, remember, if you want to become a Patreon or patron for me, check the link below. You can join in the meetings where we have a bit of a chat. And we talk about all sorts of things. We might even talk about a bit of sharpening this week. Wasn't the number one industry something salespeople carried in as example piece? It could well be. It could well be. Looking after tools in the shed, I use Silver Glide and Camellia oil. That's like for hand planes. This is the stuff I use for hand planes. Don't drown the things in it. It's only a little bit. That's all you need. And Silver Glide on my cast iron machines. All right, I think that's it. I think it is. Look after yourselves. Be nice to each other, and I'll see you next week. Bye.